Welcome back to the News Zone. Today we're going to be talking about the Colorado Buffaloes as we continue along with our 2024 college football preview series. As always, if you're new to the channel, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We're continuing along with this series. We had a lot of success last year. Colorado is obviously a team that has a lot of hype, so this video should do relatively good as far as the engagement and kind of everybody's comments about Deion and the way he's building this program. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about our predictions last year. So last year I predicted 3-9 or 4-8, and you said 5-7. Obviously, typically we'd have the game by game, but in this video that we did last year for Colorado, we didn't get to the point where we were doing the game by game. We just gave our predictions in the video.
Okay.
So we didn't pick what teams and they would lose to or win. So we don't have that today. But heading into this year, obviously they're ranked number 36 heading into the season, projected by ESPN to go about 6-6 with a 4% chance to win the Big 12. What is your thoughts and opinions on Deion and what they're building heading into 2024?
Yeah, this is the great experiment. Deion Sanders has committed himself to creating a roster from the transfer portal, bringing very few players in from high school recruiting, and really getting most of his team from the transfer portal. The bad part is what we're seeing between last year and this year is for as many players as he got in from the transfer portal, they lost about that many as well. They do keep some very key players, and we can go very deeply into the roster, but they lost a lot of players. This team, when you look at their roster, their starting depth chart is literally filled with players from the transfer portal. They were able to bring in Jordan Seaton, the offensive tackle, very high recruit. You have him there as a 5-star recruit, but the rest of that line is going to come from mostly the transfer portal. Again, some of the names we got to talk about: Shedeur Sanders, a great quarterback coming back, guy who threw for about over 3,000 yards, 27 touchdowns last year. So a great quarterback coming back. Travis Hunter, we know, two-way demon, 120 snaps per game, going to be a big name. Shiloh Sanders, a very great safety. Levante Bentley, very good linebacker. Jimmy Horn, a pretty good wide receiver. But we can talk equally about the players that they lost. Dylan Edwards, Xavier Weaver, their top running back and top wide receiver. So they lost a lot. They added a lot. This is the great experiment. I think they're going to do better than last year. I think anybody who's being honest with the true assessment of what they were last year, coming off of 1-11, 4-8, was about what we expected. Even as we did our predictions, and we were being honest, we both were either right on or within a game of what it was that we truly expected Colorado to be. I think they're going to take a step forward, but I don't think we're ready to start talking about this team. And I know they're going to get a bunch of hype, and I know they may even start out okay, but I don't think we're ready to talk about this team being true contenders in either the Big 12 or the national championship picture. What's your thoughts, Steven?
Yeah, I mean, obviously making this graphic, I could have had 20 players that they're getting in the portal and out, but I really wanted to key in on the word key. I think their key losses were Xavier Weaver, Edwards, Hankerson. I threw Cormani McClain on there, even though he didn't play much. He was the number one corner in the class, and I think he had a lot of notoriety when it came to the media, so I threw him on there as well. Obviously, you bring back Shedeur Sanders, the top 5 guy. Travis Hunter's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft. Jimmy Horn's a big name. Shiloh's a big name. Levante Bentley is really the leader of their defense outside of Shiloh. He transferred over from Clemson. I mean, it seems like he's been in college football for like 5-6 years, which is kind of odd to me. And then obviously key additions on the other side when you have them coming in. Will Sheppard, I think, is going to be a big help coming over from Vanderbilt. Quincy Wiggins and Samuel out of Pittsburgh and prospectively LSU. They're both going to be helps on the defensive line. You have BJ Green coming over from Arizona State as well. Yep. So I think we're going to have a lot of new faces, but that's kind of what we're accustomed to seeing for Colorado. I do think they're going to be a little bit better this year. I'm not willing to say that this team is better constructed than they were last year, but I just don't anticipate them losing so many games in a row like they did last year. It's hard to say what team was better, the 2023 Colorado team or the 2024, because really their core makeup stayed the same. They just lost Dylan Edwards and Xavier Weaver, and they're plugging in the running back. Yeah, the running back at Ohio State, and then Will Sheppard out of Vanderbilt. So I'm very excited to see how the season kind of unfolds. I don't know how good this team can be because I don't know kind of when it comes down to depth, do they have enough depth to be able to win the games that matter. Because when you look at the other teams in the conference, like a Utah, an Oklahoma State, a Kansas State, an Arizona, I think those teams have more depth because they've been more relevant, I would say, nationally over the last couple of seasons. Colorado just started getting these top guys because Deion moved over. So you don't have 5-6 receivers that you can rely on. You don't have 5-6 DBs you can rely on. You really just have, and now I will say this, if you stack up starter talent compared to any other starter talent in the Big 12, Colorado might have the best starter talent in the Big 12. But I don't think just being starters wins you games. I think depth matters, especially later in the season. And that showed for Colorado last year because towards the back end of the season, you lose 6 straight. And I think if you're completely healthy, we saw Travis Hunter was not healthy. We saw Shedeur Sanders was not healthy. A lot of guys who I think if they were healthy, would have won a lot of games. So I think depth matters. And I don't know how much depth is on this team. So I do think that's going to be an issue. But to get into their schedule, we have them predicted the exact same. Exact same wins, exact same losses. So it's funny. So when I make these PowerPoints, I always do my prediction first, obviously, because I have it. And then I'll text my dad and let him know, hey, we're doing Colorado. I need your prediction. Yeah. And what I normally do is I do my green and red games and I just press copy and I just put it over. And then whatever you do, you send me yours, I alter it. Today I didn't have to alter it. So you sent it to me literally 10 minutes ago and I didn't have to alter anything. The only thing I changed was the floor and ceiling.
So, yes, please understand that we do not – well, Steven sees mine, but they are completely independent. He makes his list. I make my list. I don't see his list until we get to this slide. So this is the first time I'm even seeing that we have the exact same predictions.
Yeah, and so I do see my dad's list before we go on air, but it's literally 5 minutes before we go on air. It's or it may be 30 minutes depending on how long it takes for us to get into the studio. But again, this is our own thoughts.
And the studio. I'm in a room in my house.
This is the way this is made.
I'm with you.
You're an idiot. But when you look at this schedule, I kind of want to know, how do you have their ceiling 10-2 and their floor 2-10?
All right. So, and this is literally my widest disparity. I think Colorado is one of those teams because of such big turnover. They're going to be hard to really get a gauge on until much later. I think this team has the ability to win. I mean, remember, they beat Nebraska last year. I have them losing Nebraska this year. I see that game going either way. That Kansas State game, that's one where I'm a little bit that one I feel a little bit more secure about. The Arizona game, that's a game that Arizona played very good offense last year, and they're bringing back some of their offensive key pieces, but they didn't play great defense. That's a game that's tough. I think the Utah game is a game that I feel very confident about Utah winning. The rest of the games, Colorado, I think, could be a very good team. And I wouldn't be surprised if they beat Kansas, if they beat an Oklahoma State. So my 10-2 is literally Kansas State and Utah are the two teams that I would be very surprised if they beat. But on the flip side, when I go 2-10, as I look at this, there's only 2 games that I'm really like, I'd be shocked if they lost that game. I mean, if they, lost that game. That's really, and you can kind of say that with the North Dakota State. If North Dakota State beats Colorado, I don't think I'd be shocked.
Well, then wait. So wouldn't their floor be 0-12?
No, because I think Baylor is a really bad team, and I think Cincinnati's a really bad team. So those are the 2 teams that I think that Colorado will beat no matter what.
But would you be surprised if Baylor beat Colorado?
I'd be surprised. I think Baylor's bad. I'd be surprised.
Okay. Because when I made the floor, I put it at North Dakota State, Baylor, and Cincinnati.
I went Baylor and Cincinnati.
But I also think, like, the way you put it is because I have, in my opinion, I'd be surprised if they beat Kansas State, Arizona, Utah, or Kansas. I'd be surprised if they won any of those games. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible that they can win, but I also look at how they played last season, and I think they started off 4-1, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they beat half the teams at the end of the year, but I don't think they didn't. So it's like I'm kind of projecting where even though I think they can beat pretty much anyone on the schedule, realistically they have the talent to, I don't think that's the ceiling because we saw them drop a game against Colorado State last year. We saw them.
Well, they
Almost
didn't.
lose
They
to
beat Colorado State.
I'm sorry, Stanford. It was Stanford that they lost to.
But
And
remember,
going
they
to
almost
Georgia.
beat USC. I mean, and again, USC had somewhat of a down year. But this is a team that, even when you look at their 4-8, I think there was only 2 games that they were completely out of. I know one being the Oregon game, maybe the other one was the Arizona game from last year, but only 2 games that they were absolutely out of. Every other game was a 1-possession game.
Yeah, and I think this team probably is going to end up having the widest separation just because there's so much unknown.
Right, agree.
But I honestly think that if they went 4-8 next year, it's not like the end of the world.
No.
But I also think that if they go 7-5, 8-4, I don't think it's like the craziest thing either, because I think the Pac-12 was a lot better than the Big 12 is going to be this year.
Yes.
So I'm not gonna say it doesn't improve much, because I still think that's a really big improvement. But it wouldn't wow me as much as a 10-2 like you have as your ceiling.
But but this is the thing, when you mention a team with Shedeur, who I think is a top 10 quarterback returning next year in college football, Travis Hunter, a top 10 athlete. I'm not going to say a top 10 wide receiver, but I'm going to say a top 10,
a top 5 player in college football.
Play all. So it wouldn't be shocking to me if he had 1,000-yard receiving season. Will Shepard, I think, is a good receiver. Jimmy Horn, I think, is a good receiver. If the line was able to get better. Now, again, these are ifs. Yeah. I think Dallin Hayden has the ability to be 1,000-yard rusher. I think at Ohio State, he played very well. He was just behind some better backs.
But when it comes to being 1,000-yard rusher, Colorado has to run the ball for that to happen.
No, that's valid.
They didn't run the ball last year. I think.
But maybe they didn't. Again, you're talking about a 4 or 5-star talent that's now coming in, and that's no knock to Edwards. I thought he was a good running back, but you're right. They just didn't give him the ball enough. If some of these guys, and I'm saying these are ifs, but please understand the if is the reason why I have such a wide disparity. This is the reason why my floor is 2-10 and my ceiling's 10-2. If all of these players hit I could almost have made, to your point, I could have made their floor 0-12. I could have made their ceiling 10-2. I mean, 12-0. Because if these players hit, they have the talent to play with any of those teams. If I almost could have went complete opposites, because this can go either way.
Yeah, I mean, the ceiling to me, because if that's the case, realistically, we could say that about any team, because
no. Because I think the likelihood that Vanderbilt is going to be Georgia next year is, I don't think there's a chance. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a chance. And to even make this more realistic, right? I don't think there's a chance that Florida beats Georgia next year. Right.
See, that's the thing. I guarantee you Florida will be a closer spread game against Georgia than Colorado will be against Utah or Arizona, because I think the talent gap, Florida has 4 and 5 stars on their team as well.
I agree.
So I think if they were to beat them, that's not crazy. Florida beat Tennessee last year, and Tennessee was a top 10 team.
I think people would be more shocked Florida beating Georgia than Colorado beating Arizona. I think that would be a bigger.
No, but we're talking about like a ceiling though. So that's my point. Like, to say that Colorado's ceiling 12-0. If Colorado went 12-0,
and I don't have it at 12-0. I am just saying.
Well, I think if Colorado went 10-2 this year, mm-hmm. people would be more shocked by that than Florida going 10-2.
You think? I don't think so. I disagree. I think Florida, there are people out there.
Florida also has like that Florida is just another example. But if a team like, what's another team that has a like that's that type of program that is not like Florida has the number one hardest schedule in college football, so that's a bad example. But I mean, like if a team like Nebraska went 10-2, I think Colorado would be more surprising than Nebraska would be.
I don't think that either. Let me say this: I think there are people, and again, you got to remember, because you're saying people right now. I would say there's a difference between people. I think there's people out there that believe that Colorado is going to win the Big 12 next year.
But that's also very biased.
That's why I said, you said there were people that were talking about after the hot start that Colorado was going to be in the playoffs last year.
Yes, but that's all biased. That's what I'm saying.
But again, I'm only saying this because you said people. I think people would be more shocked at Nebraska going 10-2 than Colorado. I think Colorado, and I'm going to say I would be less shocked if Colorado went 10-2. Again, when you talk about Shedeur, because I could see it. If Shedeur popped, if Travis Hunter popped, if Dallin Hayden popped, if Jimmy Horn played well, if the line meshed and gave Shedeur a little bit more time, I could easily see this being a 10-win team.
Yeah, but
I don't want to say easily, but I could see this being a 10-win team.
The thing is, though, all those players outside of Hayden and the line played well last year. So really, I mean,
and you can't say Hayden played well. He just didn't get as much opportunity.
No, I'm just saying on Colorado. He just transferred over. Gotcha. So I'm saying Jimmy Horn, Hunter, and Shedeur didn't play bad last year.
No, agree.
Shedeur played exceptional. He had 27 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
So the biggest piece of that is obviously the line. Shedeur was the most sacked quarterback in college football last year.
I think the line and the defense. I think that's
the defense
comes down
too.
to being able to stop a nosebleed matters. Yes. And I think when you look at the Big 12, it is the general consensus that the Big 12 is an air raid conference.
It is.
And I don't think if Colorado cannot stop another offense, I don't think they're going to be able to win games that are in the 60s and 50s like we see year in and year out in the Big 12. Because I don't know if the O-line is going to be able to do that. And obviously, you said it's a lot of ifs, and I don't know if I could put the ceiling that high, because last year we saw them in very close games to teams that were not good and teams that were good. So it's like we can't really bet on that.
Now, Nate, you said your 4 teams that make up your ceiling are who again?
Kansas State, Arizona, Utah, and Kansas.
I'd be willing to bet that Colorado wins one of those games.
Well, like I said before, my ceiling to me is even if they were to beat a Kansas State, I wouldn't look at it like the world's falling, but I think they can lose to Nebraska. I have them losing to Nebraska. So I think their ceiling is at 8-4, but if of the 6 games that I have them losing, those are the most 4 that I would say, I think those are going to happen before. But I don't think they're going to win 8 games. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I don't think they're going to win 8 games. I think they're going to win 6.
Like if they won 8 games, I would be surprised if they won 8 games. And that's why I have that.
I don't think I'd be surprised, though. I don't think I'd be surprised. I think that would be a big jump, but
if they won 8 games, that's 3rd or 4th in the Big 12, and I don't have them finishing anywhere near there.
Well, I'm more looking at it as I look at their schedule, and I say I can see even of the games I picked them to lose. I can see them because let's take it for this. Nebraska they beat last year, and they beat pretty decently. So that's one game that I could easily see flipping. And then as we kind of look at the rest of these, I can see them pulling off another one of those wins. I wouldn't be shocked by that.
Yeah, but could you also see them losing to Colorado State?
Yeah, yes,
or a UCF or a Texas Tech. So that's why I'm saying I don't think it's like saying a team, like I wouldn't be surprised if a team beat them. Everybody's ceiling that we make would be through the roof, because I think it's easy to say somebody's ceiling is 10-2. Like last year, I don't remember what we had their ceiling at because we didn't do it this format.
I don't think we did it. Yeah,
but to say that
until later,
like a ceiling is, because if that's the case, for example, Clemson or a team like Georgia could lose to a Texas. They could lose to an Alabama. They could lose.
Yeah, but that will create my floor.
Yep. So your floor would have to be like a 7-5 then.
My floor will probably be a 7. I haven't seen their schedule. I haven't seen their schedule, but I take every game that I think a team can lose, and I put that in my floor.
Well, then you would have to say that Colorado's floor has got to be 0-12.
No, because I think Baylor and Cincinnati are really bad, and I think Colorado. I'd be shocked if Colorado lost to those 2 games.
I think Stanford is worse than Baylor and Cincinnati, and they lost to Stanford last year.
And again, is it possible? Would that'd be a shock? But was I shocked by the Stanford loss last year? Yes, I am. Certain that if you looked at all of my floor games, that one of those is going to be wrong.
No, so that's my point though. So I'm not. So I think if Colorado beat anybody on this list, I wouldn't be like it's the end of the world. I wouldn't say that. But if they also lost anybody in this list, I wouldn't think it's the end of the world.
Those are the 2. That's why I took it as those are the 2 games that I would be genuinely shocked if they lost. But those are the 2 games.
The reason why I say my ceiling is at 8-4, because anything 9-3 or higher, I'd be looking like, what is going on? And if they're 2-10 or lower, I'd look at it like, what is going on?
So I'm only doing this based off of their schedule, not based off of.
Well, I mean, even looking at their schedule, because if they played 12 North Dakota States, then I'd be comfortable with them going undefeated. So I'm just saying, based on their schedule, I don't think that this team can go 9-3, no matter where the losses come from. Now, if I had to tell you these 4 losses or these 3 losses are ones that I would guarantee, or I would say I feel more confident in, yeah, but I don't think based on how a season progresses that we saw last year, how a season progressed, I didn't have them starting 3-1. So based on how a season progresses and how health is involved, I don't think 9-3 is feasible. So that's the only reason why I have a ceiling at 8-4. Now, if we're saying, would I be surprised? The only team I'd be surprised if they beat is Utah. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat anybody else.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I said 2 games there, but there are 2 games that I'd be surprised. So that, again, that's how I create my ceiling and floor. But I mean, that's just different perspectives.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let us know in the comment section what you guys think about Colorado, and what do you think their projection is for this year? Do you think they're going to be better than 4-8? Do you think they're going to be in the bowl game? Do you think they have a chance to win the Big 12? Let us know. If you're a Colorado fan, how do you feel about life after Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter? Because that's another question we can really get into as far as what the team is going to look like post Shedeur and Travis Hunter, that era. But as always, if you made it this far in the video, please like, comment, subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. It's going to continue to be fun as we continue along with these preview series. We are 2.5 months out from the season. So it's going to be really fun. We post these every other day, and we're going to be going live on Sundays pretty soon. So we will see you guys next one. Peace out.